Hey, what's up guys, it's Marf and welcome back to another Asphalt 9 video. Today is the ultimate beginner's guide for cars in Asphalt 9. If you're just starting out, just downloaded the game, maybe you're a bit along in the career mode and wondering what cars you should go for, this will be a guide for that decision. Now I know there are a lot of videos out there, lots of different guides on which cars to get, and I just wanted to throw my hat into the ring and let you guys know some of my suggestions. So in this video, I'll go through each of the different classes and let you guys know a couple of different options that you might want to check out for cars in this game. Now, my main criteria for picking out these cars were how easy they are to unlock and how good they are in the game itself. So some of these cars might be more difficult to unlock than others, but they might be way more powerful. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoy and let's get right into it. So starting off with D class, this is probably the most important class because this contains some of the easiest cars to unlock. So I'm not going to go over anything super easy, but I will talk about the first car, which is the Lotus Elise 220 Sprint. Now this car is extremely easy to drive. It comes back a lot in car hunts and in other events, so it's relatively easy to unlock. And really the only downside for this car is its low top speed of 175 miles per hour compared to most high-end D-class cars that can go into the 190s or even above 200 miles per hour. Now if you've been in the garage or if you've had some experience, you might be saying to yourself, well, why not just use the DS-E10s? I mean, it's super easy to unlock and it has the same top speed. However, the Elise will perform better in multiplayer because of its superior acceleration and handling. And just because it's not that much more difficult to unlock sometimes, because again, it does come around in car hunts, I think it's just a worthwhile investment because especially on twisty tracks, this car can do quite well. Next up is the Dodge Challenger 392. Now, if you've been playing the game for a while, you will definitely recognize this car. This is one of the most legendary D-class cars, and it used to be the top speed king all the way back when the game first came out, and it held that title for a very long time. So relative to cars like the DS-E10s or what we talked about previously, the Lotus Elise, it has a much higher top speed at 194 miles per hour with nitro. But the downside to this car is its handling. It can feel quite clunky at some times and it can drift very slowly. However, the car is super easy to unlock and start up since it's only a 3-star car and you can get it through almost every pack you encounter in the game. It is easier to unlock compared to the Lotus Elise, so a good combination if you're just starting out would be the DS-E10s and the Dodge Challenger 392. Moving on to C class, we have the Acura NSX first up. Now this car actually used to be the rank king all the way back when Asphalt 9 was first announced, and this car's main point is the nutty acceleration. It has an acceleration stat of 84, which is amazing, and the acceleration of this car means that you can pull ahead of the pack in multiplayer to avoid knockdowns at the beginning of the race. As soon as the game starts, you'll notice you just instantly shoot out at the head of the pack, and that's very useful for classic multiplayer where knockdowns are a big concern. This car also has decent top speed compared to other normal C-class cars that sometimes can't even reach 200 miles per hour, so 208 is pretty good. It's not going to be a top speed king, so don't rely on it for tracks such as the Himalayas, but really the best part about this car, like I said, is the acceleration, and that's where this car shines. In terms of availability, this car is quite common in most packs and it can be unlocked through multiplayer rewards as well. So just by playing multiplayer, you should be able to get this car pretty quickly. Next up, we have the Vencer Sarth. This will be your top speed king for a very long time. It's more difficult to unlock and upgrade compared to other C-class cars, including the NSX, just because of its rarity, and it has a pretty high star count, but it will be way more attainable compared to the other C-class kings because it can be found in most of the Grand Prix car packs whenever that event comes around, and in my opinion, this is the most underrated C-class car because it punches well above its rank. We always talk about how the Aranera is the top speed king of C-class, but in my opinion, this car gets very, very close to the Aranera's performance, and you will get this car quite a bit sooner compared to the Aranera, depending on when these cars come around in events, but you will see the Vencer appear in packs more often, so I definitely recommend you try and get this car as well. Stepping up to B class, we have the good and trusty Lamborghini Huracan Evo. So even as a beginner, it is no secret that the Huracan is one of the best cars in the entire game. Luckily, nowadays it's actually super easy to unlock because it can be found in a Starway event that returns a couple of times throughout the year, and the main goal of that event is to get new players involved with the game and give them access to some of these very powerful cars, including the Huracan Evo. Now, this car is the most useful in multiplayer because of its incredible acceleration, handling, and nitro efficiency. This car can also be used very well in Platinum League if you lack some A-class cars, just because of how insane the combination of those three statistics are. On twisty tracks especially, you will beat a lot of A-class cars because this car is very easy to drive and master. As a side note, of course, the Corvette Grand Sport is a nice car to go for because it's even easier to drive, but it has a lower top speed and lower acceleration number. It won't take you as far as the Huracan in multiplayer, but the Corvette is definitely nice to have in anyone's garage. In terms of top speed choices for B-Class, I'm going to give you two options. Firstly is the Glickenhaus 003S, and this is just because of how easy it is to unlock. The rarity is lower compared to the legendary status of some of the other cars in Class B at the top, and it's in most B-Class packs as well, so you'll get it quite easily. The other car is the Apollo N, one of my favorite cars in Asphalt 9, and this has remained one of the best top speed cars in B-Class ever since it was introduced many years ago. Now, for early beginners, like I said, I would lean more towards the 003S because of how easy to unlock it will be. And later in your Asphalt 9 journey, then I would recommend stepping up to the trusty Apollo N. Now, both of these cars can reach about 10 miles per hour higher compared to the average B-Class cars. Now, just as a side note, for some of these cars, I have made dedicated videos about them that you can search up on my channel if you want a more detailed review of each of these cars in their respective videos. Moving on to Class A, this was definitely the hardest couple of cars to pick out just because there is a lot to go through in A-Class. There are a huge variety in the different cars, yet a lot of them can feel very similar, so it can be confusing to pick out a couple that stand apart from the rest. Again, keeping in mind how easy these cars are to unlock, I managed to get a couple that I think will be very attainable for beginner players. First up here, we have the VLF Force 1 V10. Now, this is a bit of a controversial pick because it doesn't have any super special traits that stand out, and unfortunately it's not the easiest to control for beginners. However, it is one of the easiest decent A-Class cars that you can get, and it will serve you very well in Platinum League. Now, some of the very beginner friendly A-Class cars like the LaFerrari and the Viper are great cars, but they just don't stand much of a chance compared to the A-Class Kings. So while some of those early A-Class cars are easy to unlock, they won't last you very long. However, the VLF is different. It can definitely hold its own relatively well, and it's also super easy to unlock just like those early A-Class cars because of a bi-weekly daily event that will let you unlock and start up the car. Moving on to the top speed car for A-Class, I recommend the Peugeot Onyx. Now, the Onyx is the budget A-Class top speed king, and because just like the Huracan, this car can be found in a Starway event that will make it super easy to unlock compared to most other high-end A-Class cars. This car will be great for Slipstream and Ghost multiplayer series, again because of its relatively high top speed compared to other A-Class cars. Luckily, the Onyx was easy to pick out just because of how easy it is to unlock compared to very high-end A-Class cars, and of course its high top speed. Finally, we get to the pinnacle of performance in Asphalt 9 S-Class. Now, luckily, there are a few cars that are well within reach of beginners, and those cars will also serve you very well in multiplayer and general progression in Asphalt 9. First up, we have the Lykan Hypersport. Now, this car is very easy to unlock because it can be obtained through the weekly S-Class daily event that runs every Friday. So the Lykan is very easy to unlock, yet very powerful. Now, some of you guys might be in the comments saying that I should be recommending the Icona Volcano as a beginner S-Class car, and while I definitely agree it is a good beginner S-Class car, I would recommend aiming for the Lycan instead because it has a much higher top speed and it behaves similarly to other high-end S-Class cars, so those attributes mean that the Lycan is going to last you a lot longer in multiplayer compared to the Icona. Now, the Icona will also be unlocked through that same event, so I recommend at least trying to get both cars, but I would set your sights mainly on the Lycan just because of how much of a step up it is compared to the Icona. Okay, so I know this next one here is going to be a hot take, but I recommend the Tryon Nemesis. So why in the world would I recommend a beginner try to use and unlock the Tryon, one of the hardest cars in the entire game to master? Well, I have a couple of reasons. Firstly, this car is pretty easy to unlock because it appears in a similar bi-weekly event to the VLF Force. So this is a very nice car to unlock because you can do it pretty casually. You don't need to grind super hard for this car. It just pops up in some events every once in a while and you get the opportunity to unlock it. Of course, we can't recommend a car without talking about its stats, and this car's standout stat is of course the insane top speed compared to other cars around its rank. Similar to the Vencer Sarth, this car punches well above its rank in terms of top speed. However, I haven't addressed the fact that it is incredibly difficult to learn, especially as a beginner. But that makes it the best learning platform for all of the S-Class kings. I mean, think about it. If you can learn to master the Tryon, then cars like the Jesko, Tuatara, and other very high-end S-Class kings will seem like a breeze to drive. So I definitely recommend trying to get the Tryon. Never feel discouraged if you don't get the hang of this car immediately. Even I struggle to really unleash the power of the Tryon Nemesis, but I think it's an incredible learning tool for new players, especially if you're trying out manual drive. You will get to see how insane the difference is between manual drive and touch drive if you use the Tryon Nemesis. Now, because I understand that the Tryon is a very daunting car to learn, I just wanted to give a quick honorable mention to the McLaren Speedtail, and that is mainly because, just like with the Onyx and the Huracan, this car will come back every once in a while in a Starway event. So it is relatively easy to unlock for most beginners. Of course, I couldn't end this video without asking you guys for suggestions. If you are a new player, check the comments under this video because we have some amazing community members who I'm sure will give some awesome advice for cars to unlock in Asphalt 9 if you're a beginner. So I definitely recommend not only checking out the comment section and leaving a comment if you think you have some suggestions, but also check out some other videos. I absolutely acknowledge that there are definitely other options out there, and this was just my take on what I think beginners should go for in Asphalt 9. With all of that being said, I really hope you guys enjoyed this little guide on Asphalt 9 beginner cars, and I will see you guys later.